Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you don't mind, Madam Minister, I'd like to go back and forth.
Sure.
That's all right. Thank you. Mr. Lammie, I guess I'll give you an opportunity to finish the thought you had about what lessons were learned in the PDP round one, if anything you will do differently in the second round.
Yeah. Go ahead, Doug.
Thank you. So, as I was mentioning before, a very successful round one program with over 16 applicants that applied for it. I think what was quite impressive was the wide-reaching applications that we received from around the world, and that the broad interest of investing in Alberta and the importance of that PDP program for leveling the playing field with other jurisdictions around the world. And so that was, I think, a great element that we recognized and learned through that process, and will be a piece, as Minister mentioned, as we try to leverage our international offices to get the message out to those international communities about the potential for investment and value-added activity here in the province.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I'm curious about, because the companies that were successful and ultimately Pembina partnered with the Kuwaiti group, they didn't seem to have a lot of expertise in building petrochemical facilities per se, and selling polypropylene or the end result kind of products. Did you consider that as part of the criteria in terms of how, their ability to actually market the end result products, their ability ultimately to be successful, which obviously would factor into their economics as to whether or not they would go ahead? Was there any weight given to that? If so, how much? Is that something that you'll potentially change for the second round?
Yeah, I think, and I apologize, I don't have the criteria with me, but it was posted online, and certainly, their business plan and who they were going to market to and what they were going to create, and that was all considered as part of that. And I think that's why we saw some partnerships form, because there would be, a group that had the feedstock or some form of expertise, and partnering with a company that could provide the others. So, and I can say I know there's interest in some of the ones that applied the first time and applying in the second round. So it's giving them a chance to develop their plans even further.
Okay, so, and that was early into one of your earlier answers. You said that the criteria for the second round will be similar. So a couple of questions. I suppose if you can be any more specific than soon, it would be great. But in terms of when can we expect to see those criteria released? When will this application process kick off? When can people or companies expect to be able to apply?
Yeah, we hope to have them out this spring. Should be spring now, but it's, as I said last night, sooner than the fullness of time. And it'll be very soon.
Excellent. That's good news.
And it will be posted right away, and we will make announcements so people will be well aware.
Okay, good. And again, in terms of those criteria, the projects themselves for round two are though distinct from round one. There's some additional types of projects that will be considered in round two. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, we've added ethane, to the criteria, the feedstock, and so I know I can say when I was in Houston, there was some interest in ethane crackers, and those are really big units and that. So to produce ethylene, so I'm hoping we'll see a couple ethane crackers come out of this. But it's open to any of the feedstocks that we had before. But certainly we have a lot of ethane, and there appears to be a lot of interest in investing in that sector.
Okay, and so as you do that, then you look at, because of course if that's one of your objectives, does that change perhaps the criteria to encourage those sorts of companies to consider applying?
I think it's the same premise, because it's royalty credits, foregone revenue in the future. The risk is on them to decide if they can build here, and again, they don't get these credits until everything's built. So it's going to be the same idea. It's just different feedstocks added this time.
Okay.
To add more flexibility, maybe.
Okay. Thank you very much. Has there been any consideration given to the future value of royalty credits? I mean, have you done any risk analysis on this. I mean, I want to be very, very clear that I believe Alberta's oil and gas industry, upstream oil and gas industry, has every reason, I would hope, to continue to be successful well into the future. There are some headwinds there, clearly. Has your department done any risk analysis on whether any potential applicants will look at those royalty credits and perhaps value them lower, given risk of not building pipelines or other what seem to be myriad reasons for a lack of capital investment in Alberta's upstream oil and gas?
Yeah, I'll again let Doug provide maybe some flavor, but certainly on all this we work with TBF and different ministries, looking at that. We have a whole, under Doug, I think, an area that, looks at resource development and that. And maybe before I let him answer, I just wanted to clarify that on your previous question, we probably wouldn't get 2 ethane crackers, but we would one would be a huge investment. So that's one of our hopes. But anyway, I'll let Doug maybe talk more about his department and what they do.
Absolutely, Minister. And Minister mentioned earlier on the advice of the EDAC committee. And the EDAC committee looked at a wide variety of different tools to encourage value-added activity, and they recognized the importance of royalty credits and the PDP program in encouraging that kind of activity. And as you mentioned, you talked a little bit about the value of those credits and how that's being incorporated. That has been incorporated into our budget projections to recognize that those companies will be coming online, will be earning royalty credits, and have the ability to transfer those royalty credit to other royalty payers or use them themselves, as they may be responsible for purchasing makeup gas to supply those facilities.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that detailed answer. I'm going to switch back over to electricity now for my last couple of minutes this round. You'd said previous that you felt the EDC report, which is called the cost of the RRO price cap, could approach $700 million by May 2021. It's a document, I don't see a date on here, but it looks like it's a fairly recent document. So that's the EDC estimate. You'd said yesterday that you feel like it's probably not $700 million. Could you remind me again where you feel the cost of the RRO price cap will be by the time the program runs its course?
279? Yeah, we had said 279 by March 31st, 2021. Yeah.
Okay,
that's our estimate.
279 million is an awful lot of healthcare and education. It seems like an awful lot, but have you read the EDC report? Can you comment on where you think they're incorrect and where your analysis differs from theirs?
I have not read the full report. Can you comment at all on that?
Some of that would probably be just their assumptions associated with how they move from the wholesale energy price up into the actual RRO price. So there's a number of assumptions that they would need to make, and there's a number of assumptions that we would need to make associated with that particular transition. Their report speaks initially to wholesale electricity prices, and that's the forecast that we generally look at and have referred to in other comments the minister has made in other analysis. We would take that, and then based on the assumptions we would make, move that up into a forecast of RRO costs based on the number of people that are on the RRO in the province.
Okay, thank you. So yesterday we talked about you'd asked the MSA to do a report, and again I asked if you could table that, and I hope you do release that report. I'm just curious about order of operations here, and when making a significant change like this and putting in a price cap, which is something I'm not in favor of, and frankly I think there were other ways of achieving similar objectives. But I'm just curious whether you had received that report before we passed the bill, or you passed the bill last fall, or what the order of operations there was in terms of actually considering what the MSA suggested on the RRO cap.
Okay, first of all, and yeah, you had asked about that report last night, and I can confirm that it is public and available on the MSA website.
Oh, great, I'll have a look, thank you.
So you'll be able to check it out. Oh, and I understand the report came after.
I've got 3 seconds left, so perhaps in our next round I will
Okay.
go down that path. Thank you very much, Madam Minister.